in this module, you'll use Amazon API Gateway to expose the Lambda function that you have built in the previous module as a RESTful API. And this API will be accessible on the public internet. So it will be secured using the Amazon Cognito user pool we have created in the previous modules. And using this configuration, we will then turn our statically hosted website into a dynamic web application by adding client-side JavaScript that makes AJAX calls to the exposed API. So if we refer to the diagram that we have discussed earlier, so in that the API gateway component which we'll build in this module integrates with the existing components we built previously. So the existing components like the static website that we deployed in the first module, and then the API we built, and the ride.html simple map based interface for requesting a unicorn ride, and after authenticating the signing.html page. So users will be able to select the pickup location by clicking a point on the map and then requesting a ride by choosing the request unicorn button in the upper right corner. So this module will focus on the steps required to build the cloud components of the API. So now let's search for API gateway and we'll create a new REST API. So click on get started. We'll be using REST protocol and new API. We'll give some name of the API and we will keep it edge optimized, and then we'll create API. So basically here the private, edge optimized or regional, so there are multiple options. So edge optimized will use all the edge locations of AWS to make it functional everywhere. So this will cover the most of the range. So we are using edge optimized as of now for that. But in case you want to use within a region, you can use regional, or if you want to use in a private premise, you can use the private. So for now we are using edge optimized. So our API is created. Now we need to Amazon API Gateway can use the JWT tokens returned by Cognito user pools to authenticate API calls. So now we will configure an authorizer for our API to use the user pool we created in module 2. So we will choose authorizers and we'll create a new authorizer. We'll give some name and the type will be Cognito. And for Cognito user pool, if we see in the drop down, we have created the Cognito user pool in Mumbai region, so that is AP South 1. So our user pool is coming in the drop down. So we'll select this, and in authorization, in token source, we'll enter authorization and we'll choose create. So these authorizers are created. Now since we have created the authorizers, we need to test whether it's working fine or not. To test that, we need to visit the ride.html page. So let's go to the website URL once again and we'll click on login. Okay, we don't need to register here. We need to go to ride.html. Okay, so we'll just take this token that was generated and we will test it. So we see the response code is 200. So that's a valid response code, and that means this token is fine. So that means the authorizers which we have created is working fine. So now we can move forward after testing this. Now we need to create some resources. So we'll click on resources tab, and from actions we can click create resource, and we'll give some name to the resource, so that is like we have given right to the resource name, and the path is also set to right. And we need to enable this API gateway course, and after that we can click on create resource. Okay, fine. So with the newly created array resource selected, from the action drop down, create a method. So, and from the method we need to select post and click on the check mark. So for that resource we have created an action post, and now we will set up that action for post. So integration type will be lambda function, because we have created the lambda function in the previous module. So that lambda function need to be integrated here. And then use lambda proxy integration here. This will also need to be checked. And the lambda region should be the same. So it's Mumbai AP South 1. That's correct. And now we need to select the lambda function which we created in the earlier section. So I hope the name of the lambda function was request unicorn. Okay, now we'll save it. You're about to give API gateway permission to invoke your lambda function. Yeah, that's correct. So we'll click choose OK. So till now this is fine. And now choose on the method request card. So this one. And on the authorization tab, just select our Cognito user pool and update it. Till now this is fine. And now the next step we need to do is we need to deploy this API. So in the actions drop down, there is option to deploy API, and the stage we can select like new stage. We'll give some name like prod. If you want to give some description, give it, no problem. And now just click on deploy. After deployment, you'll get some invoke URL. So just make a note of this invoke URL. This will be used for the. Now we need to update this invoke URL in the config.js document. So let me open that. So I have opened the config.js file in the notepad, and I'll just copy that. I'll copy this invoke URL and I will save it here. So if you see, there should be no space. Everything is looking good. I'll save it. This is saved. Now we need to upload it again to the JS folder. So I'll just go to upload file and I will upload this config.js. So it seems to be uploaded. Now let me check it again. I will go to S3 services. I'll go to JS folder and I'll see the config.js. Yes, it is updated recently. So I think we are all set. Now again, we need to test this deployment. So we'll again go to the same URL. We'll go to write.html, and if we see, we are already logged in with the previous account that I have created, And now we need to select some location from where we need to choose a unicorn. So I've just selected this location. I've clicked on request unicorn. So it's telling welcome. Click on the map to set up the pickup location. You are authenticated. Click to see your auth token. Shadowfax, your white unicorn is on his way. So Shadowfax has arrived here. So this application is working fine. So it's going through all the steps, as you can see. So this demo is looking good. And the best thing this demo was all about is serverless. So we have implemented this demo without using any EC2 instances when we have not used any servers. So this is just a Lambda function invoking all the services that is required to run your web application. So this is pretty cool. So every time you are requesting a ride, then only some actions will happen and you'll be charged for those actions. You don't need to maintain a EC2 instance or maintain a server 24/7 to run your application.